Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. Today, I invite you to discover a hidden verse in the Qur'an, a true spiritual treasure that has the power to transform your life. Imagine wealth that does not depend on your exhausting efforts or human calculations, but comes directly from the mercy of Allah. This verse is an invitation to spiritual and material prosperity, to an abundance that flows directly from your faith. And the key to activating this power? Recitation of this verse 21 times after the Asr prayer. You are probably wondering what this verse is and how it can change your life. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover could be the key to new abundance in every aspect of your existence. 1. The introduction to the verse of power. The Qur'an, the sacred book revealed by Allah, contains verses that are not only spiritual guides, but also powerful tools to transform our daily reality. Among these verses, there is one often referred to as a verse of power, which holds the ability to change our destiny. This verse, when recited with sincere faith and complete devotion, becomes a key to infinite blessings. But what does this actually mean? In the Islamic vision, wealth is not measured only by the material goods we possess, but by the light, peace, and guidance we receive directly from Allah. True wealth is that which elevates our soul, brings us closer to our Creator, and allows us to live a meaningful life. But in our modern world, we often tend to reduce wealth to the amount of money we have in the bank or the amount of material possessions we accumulate. However, from the Islamic perspective, wealth goes far beyond this. Imagine, for a moment, that there is a verse in the Qur'an that, when recited with devotion, leads you not just to material wealth, but to infinite abundance in every aspect of your life. This wealth flows from the deep faith you have in Allah, and it manifests itself in your daily life, in inner peace, in harmony in your relationships, and in the success you achieve through His blessing. You don't need to endlessly chase what you want. This verse is a direct channel to receive what you deserve from Allah. This verse in particular is recited 21 times after Asr prayer, a moment conducive to reflection, tranquility, and humility. After the hustle and bustle of the day, the time following the Asr prayer is ideal for meditation and concentration. It is a time when our soul is most receptive to divine blessings. When we recite this verse in this state of inner calm, we open a direct passage between our heart and the mercy of Allah. Reciting this verse 21 times after Asr does not simply require words. It is an opening of the soul, an act of submission to the divine will. Through this simple action, you invite Allah's prosperity into your life effortlessly, as if the flow of blessings comes to you without any extra effort on your part. Intention is everything here. It is not the quantity of words we say that counts, but the purity of our heart. When one recites this verse with sincere intention, a heart filled with faith and trust in the greatness of Allah, blessings flow naturally. It is no longer a question of how much we worked or how much we sacrificed, but rather how we placed our fate in the hands of Allah with full trust. Inspiring story. A merchant named Malik lived in a small town, struggling tirelessly to make his business prosper. Every day, he got up early, worked tirelessly, but despite his efforts, his business did not grow as he hoped. He had never known true peace. He felt that he could not find peace, although he was a pious man. One day, when he was going through a particularly difficult time, he met a wise old man who advised him to recite a particular verse after each Asr prayer 21 times, with sincerity and faith. Malik, although initially skeptical, decided to follow this advice. A few weeks later, His business prospered unexpectedly. He received major contracts, his business grew, and most importantly, he began to feel a deep inner peace he had never known. It was not only his efforts that had borne fruit, but the divine blessing he had attracted through this simple practice. What he understood through this experience was more important than the material prosperity he had gained. He understood that true wealth does not lie in material goods, but in trust in Allah, in the recognition that everything we have is a divine gift. He had learned to open his heart to Allah, to confide his concerns to Him, and to let Him guide his path. Engaging question. Have you ever felt that despite all your efforts, prosperity still eludes you? Perhaps this is a sign that the real key is not in your physical efforts, but in your ability to trust Allah completely, relinquish control, and accept His will with a pure heart. What would happen if you too applied this practice in your life? 2. The power of recitation. When you recite this verse 21 times after Asr prayer, it is not just saying words. Every word, every letter, every pause in recitation becomes a bridge between your heart and the divine. You immerse yourself in the light of Allah, and with each syllable, you open your heart to His infinite mercy. This moment of devotion is much more than a simple ritual practice. It becomes a sacred act, a true communion with the Creator. Islam teaches us that everything we experience, every breath, every heartbeat, everything that happens to us is under the absolute control of Allah. Nothing escapes His will, as the Qur'an says in Surah Al-Baqarah 2:253. Nothing escapes His will. This means that even the moments we consider insignificant, every little action we perform, every gesture, every prayer, all of this is part of the divine plan. By reciting this verse after Asr, we remind our soul that true wealth lies not in what we possess, but in our ability to submit to the will of Allah with a pure heart and a calm mind. It is an act of deep faith and total submission. Reciting this verse is not simply an invitation to material prosperity, but rather a call to spiritual abundance. Because money, inner peace, tranquility, and prosperity do not come from our own efforts alone. They are the fruits of faith, letting go, and total trust in Allah. It is by connecting our hearts to Him that we find the peace we seek, not in material possessions, but in an authentic relationship with our Creator. Reciting this verse 21 times after Asr is an act of pure faith. It is a way of opening the doors to divine abundance, but also an opportunity to purify our soul. Every word spoken in this act of devotion becomes a means of purifying our hearts, detaching us from material concerns, and strengthening our spiritual connection with Allah. True wealth does not lie in the amount of material goods we accumulate, but in the state of mind and inner tranquility we experience when we place ourselves totally in the hands of Allah. This verse is not a simple means to obtain material goods, but a means to remind us that everything we have is a gift from Allah. It is a call to recognize His greatness, to be grateful to Him for every benefit, whether visible or invisible. By reciting this verse with sincerity and humility, we submit to His will and prepare ourselves to receive His blessings in whatever form He deems best for us. Inspiring story. Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Fatima who found herself in a situation of great uncertainty after losing her job. She was struggling to cope with the pressure of piling up bills and the uncertainty overwhelming her mind. His heart was filled with doubts, fear, and anxiety. One day, a friend told her about a particular verse from the Qur'an, a verse that had changed her life and guided her towards peace. This friend advised her to recite this verse 21 times after each Asr prayer. Fatima, at that moment, had nothing more to lose. She followed the advice with faith. But beyond the simple words she repeated, she felt a deep spiritual connection to Allah. Gradually, her finances began to improve, not because she had found a miraculous solution or a quick way to increase her income, but because she had found inner peace. She understood that her wealth did not depend on external circumstances, but on her relationship with Allah, her faith, and the tranquility of her soul. She realized that the blessings she had received were not linked to material efforts or external circumstances, but were the fruit of her renewed faith and complete trust in Allah. She now felt at peace, regardless of the ups and downs of her material life. She knew that whatever happened was in the hands of Allah, and that it was He who would guide her path. When you are going through a period of doubt or uncertainty, have you ever taken the time to reconnect with Allah and remember that every situation is under His will? Perhaps it is not just the external situation that determines your peace, but rather your spiritual connection with Allah. What is stopping you from believing that everything you need is already written for you by the Creator? 3. Inner wealth, above all true wealth, is not simply measured by the amount of material goods one owns. Allah, in His great wisdom, teaches us that true wealth begins within, in the soul. A pure heart, filled with gratitude to the Creator, becomes a receptacle of divine light and mercy. This light illuminates our path, and in this illumination we find true wealth. In reciting this special verse, it is essential to understand that wealth does not lie in the accumulation of material goods, but in the purity of our heart and the tranquility of our mind. The richness of the soul is found in inner peace, a peace that comes from deep trust in Allah and submission to His will. Each time you recite this verse, remember that you are not simply seeking material goods or external abundance, but you are nourishing your soul, filling it with light and serenity. Spiritual wealth is the ability to detach ourselves from the illusions of this world and focus on what is truly precious, our relationship with Allah. When we constantly remember His presence, we detach ourselves from superficial concerns and the illusion of material happiness. Instead, we become wiser, more centered, and we discover that Allah's blessings often come in ways we never imagined. This verse also teaches us that true wealth lies in our ability to appreciate what we already have. Rather than chasing insatiable desires and seeking more and more, we must learn to cultivate gratitude for what we have. For every blessing Allah bestows upon us, even if it seems insignificant in the eyes of the world. When we learn to appreciate what we have, we open the door to even more blessings. But it is crucial to understand that what matters is not the object of the blessing, but the state of our heart in the face of it. True power lies not in the incessant pursuit of material goods, but in the deep understanding that everything we have is a gift from Allah. Nothing is acquired by simple human effort. Everything comes from Him in His infinite wisdom. True wealth is therefore that which transforms our heart, which purifies it, and which allows us to live in peace and serenity, independently of external circumstances. Inspiring story. A long time ago, a wise man, having lived a life of prosperity and comfort, suddenly found himself dispossessed of all his possessions following a war. His house, his lands, his wealth, everything was taken away. In his pain, and in the loss of what seemed to be the foundation of his life, he once told his disciples, "I have lost everything, but what no one can take from me is the peace I have found in my heart. All I have now is the certainty that what I lost was given to me by Allah, and whatever happens to me is what He wanted for me." This man had lost what many consider to be the foundations of wealth, material goods, material comfort, external stability. But he had discovered something much more precious, the richness of the soul, which depends neither on circumstances nor on external possessions. His wealth lay in his total trust in Allah, in his ability to rely on Him, even in adversity. Her story resonates deeply because it reminds us that true wealth lies not in what we have, but in who we are. Inner peace, faith, and trust in Allah are unalterable treasures which, once cultivated, cannot be taken away by any external event. No matter the trials, true wealth is that which remains anchored in our heart, a wealth which allows us to overcome any adversity with dignity and serenity. What does wealth really mean to you? Is wealth just about what you own, what is visible on the outside, or is it a state of mind that you can cultivate in every moment, regardless of external circumstances? Isn't true wealth, in your opinion, that which resides in the peace of your heart and in your relationship with Allah? 4. Daily practice. Reciting this verse 21 times after the Asr prayer is not just an isolated act or a one-time practice. It's a commitment that goes well beyond words. This verse, like a spiritual key, opens the door to immeasurable blessings, but it requires you to be steadfast in your faith and sincere in your actions. Allah's wealth, whether spiritual or material, requires commitment and a willingness to live fully according to His precepts. By reciting this verse, you are not just seeking blessings for the present moment. You commit to embody divine wisdom and live in the light of Allah every day. Consistency is essential in this process. Each recitation is not just a mechanical act, but a profound promise you make to yourself and to Allah. You commit to seeking prosperity in all areas of your life, spiritually, emotionally, and materially. Every prayer, every moment spent in devotion is an opportunity to nourish your soul and attract the blessings of Allah. Material prosperity, whether in the form of financial wealth, opportunity, or success, is a gift from Allah. But with this gift comes a responsibility to use what He gives you with wisdom, humility, and gratitude. True wealth lies not simply in possessions, but in the right use of what you receive and how you contribute to the well-being of those around you. Through the recitation of this verse and its daily application, you become a living example of the love and wisdom of Allah. You attract not only material blessings, but also spiritual blessings, inner peace, clarity of mind, and a pure heart. Your faith becomes a light that illuminates your path and that of others. It is in this light that you discover true wealth, a wealth that transcends the boundaries of the material and touches the depths of the soul. Commit to practicing this habit seriously and persistently. Do not consider this practice as a simple ritual, but as a way of life. The wealth of Allah, in its spiritual and material aspect, is a reflection of the sincerity of your commitment to Him. Through your actions, your prayers, and your relationship with Him, you attract blessings not only for yourself, but for those around you. Inspiring story. There was a man who, after he started reciting this verse every day after Asr, saw many changes in his life. What began as a simple gesture of faith became a practice that transformed his daily life. It wasn't just about seeing an improvement in his finances, but he also noticed a transformation in his ability to help others, share smiles, comforting words, and spread wisdom to those around him. His wealth was no longer defined by what he owned, but by what he gave. He understood that true wealth lies in what we share, in the positive impact we have on the lives of others, and in the ability to spread the light of Allah around us. This man became an example of what it means to attract Allah's blessing not only for oneself, but for others as well. It has become a channel of divine mercy, a true receptacle of spiritual and material prosperity. Are you ready to make this practice a daily commitment in your life? How can you integrate this principle of prosperity into your spiritual and material life so as to attract not only the blessings of Allah, but also to spread this light around you? By reciting this verse 21 times after Asr, you are not just seeking fleeting blessings, but you are connecting to an inexhaustible source of divine wealth. True prosperity, my dear friends, lies not only in the accumulation of material goods, but in the light of Allah which illuminates every aspect of our lives. So commit to practicing this verse with sincere faith and a pure heart. Remember, true wealth is found in inner peace, in absolute trust in our Creator, and in the love that we spread around us. May this practice become a daily commitment, a key that opens the door to divine abundance for you. If this video touched you, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe for other spiritual revelations that will nourish your soul. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you.